Members, let's move to file item 30. Senator De Leon, not at his desk. File item 31, Senator Block. Pass on file. File item 32, Senator Hancock. Pass on file. Item number 33, Senator Morrell. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 647 by Senator Morrell, an act relating to real estate investments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. SB 647 is designed to make three modest refinements to an important piece of consumer protection legislation which was passed 3 years ago in Senate Bill 978 in the year 2012. SB 978 responded to problems in the area of mortgage securities which resulted in consumer losses. My bill today makes no structural changes in any of these protections, but makes three simple clarifying changes. This bill currently is non-controversial and has no opposition. I'd respectfully ask your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Morrell. Any discussion or debate, members? Seeing none, is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 36, no 0, measure passes. File item 34, Senator Stone. Pass on file. File item number 35, Senator Hill. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 705 by Senator Hill, an act relating to charter school facilities.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 705 simply ensures community members are adequately notified about the possible co-location of a charter school at an existing public school. This measure does not change the statutory obligation school districts have to provide facilities to charter schools. It simply clarifies that parents are notified if there may be a co-location at their child's school. Amendments were adopted to help address opposition concerns. I respectfully ask for an aye vote, members.
Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. No. Anderson, I don't know. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Secretary, call the absentees.
Wesso, aye. Allen. Berryhill. De Leon. Aye. Galgiani. Hall. Huff. No. Pavley. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Gaines. Bates. Aye to no.
Ayes 21, noes 13. Measure passes. File item 36, Senator Allen. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 786 by Senator Allen, an act relating to air quality.
Thank you so much, Mr. President and members. SB 786 is very simply a bill that asks DGS to include an update on the state's parking incentive program to the current progress report they're expected to issue annually on efforts to procure alternative vehicles within the state fleet. Current law requires that the DGS and the Department of Transportation develop and implement advanced technology vehicle parking incentive programs in lots run by these departments to promote the purchase and use of alternatively fueled vehicles in the state. These incentives can include things like preferential spaces, reduced fees, and importantly, fueling infrastructure for alternatively fueled vehicles. Encouraging state employees that use these lots to purchase alternative vehicles helps the state meet its clean air and greenhouse gas reduction targets. However, one other significant advantage of such a state program is the opportunity it offers to identify what works and what doesn't when we are trying to encourage the adoption of new technologies. Policymakers can take that information gleaned from this small-scale program and work with this private sector to increase the scale at which these technologies are adopted. However, unlike the mandate to increase the use of alternative vehicles within the state fleet, there's no requirement for either department to report back to the legislature on progress being made to carry out this program. Without a progress report from the DGS, we're left without this critical information. So this bill seeks to ensure that we get this data so we can better identify ways to encourage the purchase and use of electric, hybrid, and other alternative fuel vehicles to help the state meet its clean air and greenhouse gas goals. Thank you so much. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Allen. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines.
No.
No. Galgiani. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. No. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leba. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Secretary, call the absentees.
Berryhill. Cannella. Hall. Pavley.
Ayes 24, noes 11. Measure passes. Members, file item 37, Senator Bell. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 508 by Senator Bell, an act relating to transportation.
Mr. President, members, we have been funding a share of the local public transit agency's operations since 1971 with the passage of the Transportation Development Act signed into law by then Governor Ronald Reagan. And this bill updates that act to rationalize and clarify the somewhat confusing and outdated requirements. I'll give you an example. We want to encourage transit operators to seek other non-state sources of operating revenue, primarily from the fare box, but also through local sales tax measures or grants from the federal government. SB 508 would count such non-state revenues when calculating the required ratios of state revenue to operating cost. California Transit Association is the sponsor of the bill. There's no opposition. Urgent aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bell. Any debate or discussion, members? Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leba. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Call the absentees.
Wolk, aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. De Leon. Hall. Morrell. No. Nielsen. No. Pavley. Stone. No. De Leon, aye.
Ayes 28, noes 8. Measure passes. File item 38, Senator Allen. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 439 by Senator Allen, an act relating to elections.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, members. Election day voter registration will commence in California in 2017, following the implementation of our new statewide voter database. Under this pending system, county election officials must offer voter registration and concurrent voting by provisional ballot to any qualified elector at the official's permanent office during the 2 weeks after the close of registration through to Election Day. Now, they may also offer this convenience to electors at satellite office locations, but for the satellite office locations, that can only happen on Election Day. That's current law. This bill, SB 439, would address this oversight by allowing the election officials to offer voter registration and voting at their satellite offices during this 2-week period as well. The bill also addresses issues relating to ballot-on-demand printing systems. Ballot-on-demand printing systems are used in election officials' offices and other locations in order to instantly provide voters with their proper ballots regardless of their precinct. While some counties are currently using these ballot printing systems, current statutes require the Secretary of State's office approval to be conducted. There's a special approval process that should be conducted on a location-by-location basis because the code treats them the same as commercial ballot printing operations. For instance, if a single county wants to use a ballot-on-demand system, that county would have to seek separate approval for each location where they anticipate usage. This process is very cumbersome, and it serves as a disincentive for counties to participate. So this bill will update the code so that the Secretary of State can approve ballot-on-demand printing systems as they are intended to be used. The systems themselves will be certified instead of each county having to seek individual approval. By permitting registration and voting at satellite offices during the entire 14 days before an election and streamlining the approval process for ballot-on-demand printers, SB 439 will provide our election officials with the tools they will need to accommodate what should be an enormous number of last-minute registrants and make the entire process much more convenient for our voters. The bill is supported by the Secretary of State, the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials, the California Public Interest Research Group. I respectfully ask for an aye vote, and I just remind folks that all this doesn't do anything with the current law relating to same-day registration. All it does is allow for county officials to utilize this mechanism, which already exists, at satellite locations in addition to the main county location. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Senator Allen. Members, discussion or debate? Seeing none. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines.
No.
No. Galgioni. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. No. Jackson. Aye. Latta. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Monty. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Call the
Aye.
absentees.
Mitchell, aye. Berryhill. Canella. De Leon. Aye. Hall. Pavley.
Ayes 23, noes 12, measure passes. File item 40, Senator Jackson. Pass on file. File item 41, Senator Wolk. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 793 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to electricity.
Thank you, Mr. President. 793 will require the CPUC to allow customers in the utilities green tariff shared renewable program to enter into long-term program subscriptions and receive a reasonably estimated bill, credit, and bill charge for a period of up to 20 years. In 2013, I authored SB 43, which directed the PUC to approve the shared renewable programs, ensuring that the customers of the IOUs would have the ability to subscribe to up to 600 megawatts of off-site renewable energy projects and receive bill credits in return. Unfortunately, the PUC rules currently prevent customers from subscribing to the utility program for a term of more than 1 year. That's a limitation, that 1-year limitation that was not required nor contemplated by the authorizing legislation of SB 43. So 793 provides that direction. Amendments have been taken in committee to remove the opposition of the Office of Ratepayer Advocates and Edison. No IOU is opposed to 793, and we are working with TURN to make sure that we come up with amendments that will enable us to move forward with no opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Wolk. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. No. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. No. Gaines. Galgioni. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. No. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absentees.
Berryhill. Gaines. No. Hall. Pavley.
Ayes 23, noes 13, measure passes. File item 42, Senator Galgiani. Pass on file. Item 43, Senator Wolk. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 462 by Senator Wolk, an act relating to alcoholic beverages and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Mr. President. 462 adds the Green Music Center on the Sonoma State campus to the list of facilities in existing law that are allowed to sell advertising space. It will also allow the Green Music Center to accept donated beer and wine and recognize those entities that make donations, provided that a temporary license is issued by ABC. 462 will allow the Green Music Center to increase sponsorships, improve fundraising, two critical components of a successful performing arts venue. This has bipartisan support and no opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion? Seeing none. Is there any objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0, measure passes. On the urgency and 36-0 on the measure. Thank you. File item 44, Senator Wachowski. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 594 by Senator Wachowski, an act relating to child custody.
You may proceed.
Mr. President, members, this is a support bill on contested child custody evaluations. It requires now that the reports, evaluations comply with the law. It allows judicial discretion for technical and harmless errors. The lack of a uniform application of the law has left some children being placed in unsafe environment. We reaffirm our best interests of the child's test, and I urge and I vote.
Great. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to a unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 36, no 0, measure passes. File item 45, Senator Hernandez. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 672 by Senator Hernandez, an act relating to evidence.
Mr. President, members, this bill adds pharmacists to the list of healthcare professionals whose peer review proceedings and records are protected from discovery in civil litigation. Records that are generated from a peer review evaluation are protected from discovery in order to encourage open and honest communication throughout the process. Currently, pharmacists practicing at community pharmacies are required to participate in peer review and have protections throughout what are known as the Quality Assurance Program. However, those protections do not apply to pharmacists outside the community pharmacy. This resolves this by giving pharmacists in all practice settings the same legal protections as other healthcare providers. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to a unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0, measure passes. File item 46, Senator Huff. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 738 by Senator Huff, an act relating to pupil health.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, good afternoon, members. Last year, the legislature unanimously passed and the governor signed my bill, SB 1266, requiring extra epinephrine auto-injectors be prescribed as a standing order, ensuring the life-saving medication can be on hand in public schools. So first, I want to share some good news about this policy, and it's a credit to many of you who supported the bill last year. My office has recently been informed that this medication was used in the San Marcos School District and potentially saved a child who was crashing just a few weeks ago. This policy is important, and it's working. When SB 1266 took effect, many physicians began raising questions about issuing the prescription, citing liability concerns. Unlike normal prescriptions made out to a specific individual who physicians have a patient relationship with, a standing order for epinephrine will be made out generically so the school can keep it on hand. Recent data from the California School Nurse Organization shows that many schools who are trying to implement SB 1266, which took effect January of this year, cannot because they cannot obtain the necessary prescription. So SB 738 will provide limited liability protection for prescribing physicians writing standing order prescriptions in order to comply with SB 1266 and is similar to the current law as it relates to liability for AEDs and opioid antagonists. This measure received no votes in the Senate Judiciary recently, and I respectively ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Huff. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0, measure passes. File item 47, Senator Galgiani. Pass on file. Item 48, Senator Nguyen. Amendments are pending. File item 50, Senator Pan. Pass on file. File item 51, Senator Pan. Okay. File item 50, okay. We're moving right along here. File item 53, Senator Galgiani. Pass. File item 54, Senator McGuire. Not at his desk. File item 55, Senator Hueso. Not at his desk. File item 57, Senator Jackson. Pass. File item 58, Senator Wachowski. His desk. File item 59, Senator Pan. Amendments pending, okay. File item 60, Senator Allen. Pass on file. File item 61, Senator McGuire. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 626 by Senator McGuire, an act relating to transit districts.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members. Thank you so much. Senate Bill 626 is related to the Sonoma-Marin Area Rail Transit and a potential police chief. SMART is a new voter-approved passenger rail and bicycle pedestrian pathway project located in Marin and Sonoma counties. Starting in 2016, it will serve a 70-mile corridor from Larkspur to Cloverdale, with the first phase stretching from San Rafael to the Sonoma County Airport and connecting to the Larkspur Ferry Terminal in short order. It is anticipated that the SMART Rail Transit District will be transporting 1 million people a year through the North Bay area. Providing a safe and secure environment is obviously a top priority, and to accomplish this, SMART will need a sworn chief of police to handle sensitive information involving SMART's right-of-way. SB 626 would enable SMART's board of directors to establish a sworn chief of police position in contract with neighboring law enforcement agencies for policing services. A sworn chief of police will enable the collection of vital information while giving SMART the ability to assess and address their security needs once operational. With only one law enforcement position in contracting with neighboring police agencies for law enforcement services, SMART can reduce its costs as a public transit agency and focus on their mission. That said, with one chief, SMART can gain the right to know on information they need to know along their line, providing a safer and more responsive agency to the riders in the North Bay area. The SMART Board of Directors, Sonoma County Sheriff, the Marin County Sheriff, the Vado Police Chief, San Rafael Police Chief, and of course, everybody's been wondering if the Central Marin Police Authority Chief is on board. He is as well. SB 626 has received unanimous support out of both the Senate Transportation and Housing and Senate Public Safety Committees. And sir, I respectfully ask for your aye vote. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, members, is there any objection to a unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0, measure passes. File item 62, Senator Mitchell. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 629 by Senator Mitchell, an act relating to crimes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm sure you would agree it's harder than it looks, isn't it, sir?
You're right.
Yes, it is. I'm presenting today SB 629, a bill that removes the term lynching from the California Penal Code, Section 40A, Sub A and Sub B. Currently, lynching is used in code to define the taking by means of a riot of any person from the lawful custody of a peace officer. It was added to the California statute 1933 in an effort to protect African Americans from being absconded from law enforcement for mob action. Ironically, it's recently been used here in a charge against a young woman from inciting another person to resist arrest. The term lynching carries with it cultural significance, and its current usage in California code is contrary to what the vast majority of people understand the term of lynching to entail. Lynching is defined in Webster's and every other dictionary we searched as the practice of killing a person or people by extrajudicial mob action. I want to note that this bill does not reduce the penalties associated with this act. It just simply removes the inflammatory and misused term from our penal code. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to a unanimous roll call? 36-0, measure passes. We will now move to, that concludes the Senate third reading, and we'll now move back to governor's appointments. Oh, excuse me. Senator Jackson, for what
Thank you.
purpose
If
do
I
rise?
might, if we could go back to motions, resolutions, and notices for a moment.
Yes.
Thank you. I rise to request that item 91, SB 667, be pulled from the special consent file for purposes of amendment.
So noted. Senator Monning, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, question of parliamentary procedures. This your first day as presiding officer in the State Senate?
Yes, it is.
And under what parliamentary provision do you assert this authority?
Well, you got to listen to your leadership, so that's why I'm up here.
Well, that is the correct answer, and on behalf of not only the Majority Caucus, but the entire Senate, I want to compliment you on performance of your duties today in a stellar fashion, and we look forward to your regular return to the dais as our presiding officer. Thank you.
That's very kind. Thank you. Governor's appointments. Senator De Leon. Governor's appointments. Senator De Leon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, we have before us Arlene Shimasu, who is up for an appointment, Director of the Division of Administrative Services, Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Shimasu was heard in the Rules Committee on April 22nd and was approved on a 5-0 vote, a bipartisan vote. There was no opposition. Ms. Shimasu is responsible for the department's support services, including human resources, contracting, procurement, as well as budgeting. She has extensive experience in all the functions after working at the Department of Human Resources, Department of Health, Services as well as Department of Finance. Her experience will serve her well. She is the individual who deals with the budget for the entire Department of Corrections of the state of California. With that, Mr. President, as well as colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. Any debate or discussion? Members, any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0. The appointments are confirmed. Item number 3, Governor's appointment. Senator De Leon.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Colleagues, before us is Ms. Elizabeth C. Abbott, who is patient advocate of the Office of Patient Advocates. Ms. Abbott was heard in Rules Committee May 2nd, passed on a 5-0 vote, bipartisan, no opposition. She has over 40 years of experience in the health and human services arena. Most recently, she served as the Director of Administrative Advocacy for Health Access across California. She is committed to fulfilling the mission of this office, enabling healthcare consumers in our state to access the healthcare services which they are eligible for and becoming a true, quote, patient advocate for the healthcare consumers of our state. Again, pass May 6th, 5-0 vote, bipartisan. Mr. President, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Great. Thank you, Senator De Leon. Any discussion or debate, members? Any objection to the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, 36-0. The appointment has been made. We now move to the consent calendar, items 71 through 83 and 102. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 785, 354, 399, 410, 491, 797, 799, 800, 802, 803, 28, 255.
Second reading will deem read. Consent calendar will be deemed read. Is there any objection to applying the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 36, noes 0. Consent calendar is approved. Members, returning to motions and resolutions, Senator Hancock, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. I rise today to adjourn in memory of Charles Robinson, a constituent and friend who died after a long illness in Oakland, California at the age of 81 this last week. Chuck was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, graduated from Paul Laurence Dunbar High School in Baltimore, and later achieved a Bachelor of Arts degree from California State University, San Francisco. He worked for his adult life for the state of California as a rehabilitation counselor at EDD. He did great service there, but is best known to our community for his two avocations. One is that he was a great jazz photographer. He worked for many years at the Monterey Jazz Festival and has had books of his photographs of jazz musicians published to all the jazz greats. Marvelous, marvelous pictures. And he is also known for being a great community activist working to make this state a better place to live. He served on the board of the Co-op Center Federal Credit Union, the South Berkeley Neighborhood Development Corporation, the Berkeley Gray Panthers, and as an advisor to the Oakland Mayor's Summer Youth Program. In addition, he is really known to all of us as a joyful, positive person, that whatever the cause, from civil rights to peace to economic justice and equity, he was a joyful, positive person who lit up any room or any meeting that he was present at. He is survived by his wife, Sarah, his son, Joseph, and daughter, Sybil, and by a community of people who loved him very much and will miss him. And I ask that the Senate join in adjourning in his memory.
Thank you, Senator Hancock. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I stand here today to respectfully request that the Senate adjourn in the memory of an American hero who tragically died last week serving his nation. He was a loving husband and a father of a young son and a young daughter. United States Marine Sergeant Eric M. Seaman, who graduated from Elsinore High School and lived in Murrieta, was one of 6 Marines and 2 Nepalese soldiers who were tragically killed when their helicopter crashed in Nepal, trying to deliver food to the victims of the massive earthquake. I didn't personally know Sergeant Seaman, but I would have been honored to get to know a man who woke up every morning knowing what he was doing that day would help those who needed the support of the United States Marine Corps. On April 25th, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake hit Nepal, and more than 8,200 people perished. Last week, another 7.3 magnitude earthquake hit Nepal, where at least another 117 people died and another 2,800 people were seriously injured. Sergeant Seaman didn't think twice when his country called upon him to help those in need. He suited up. He got into the helicopter that was going to deliver 10,000 pounds of food for the victims of such a massive disaster. Sergeant Seaman and his fellow crew members saw people who were suffering, and they took off to deliver the food and supplies to the people who needed our country's help. We don't know what happened yet to bring that helicopter down, but we know that Sergeant Seaman and his fellow soldiers perished doing their job and fulfilling their duty. Being in the military is a choice in our nation. Every day, hundreds of thousands of dedicated men and women wake up and choose to serve our country. When Sergeant Seaman and his fellow soldiers last week woke up, I'm sure that they are ready for anything that came at them. Sergeant Seaman and his brave and courageous colleagues gave their lives to help people in need. I stand here today to ask that you not only adjourn in the memory of Sergeant Eric Seaman, but also his family. And please, let's all keep his family in our prayers, that Sergeant Seaman rests in peace, that he will be remembered, he will always be respected and loved by his family and friends. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Stone. And Senator Hancock, please send our condolences to the family. Any other motions or resolutions? If there's no further business, Senator De Leon, the desk is clear.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Again, kudos to a job well done today, a job well done. Colleagues, we'll work throughout the week. We will have our session. We will reconvene on this floor at 9 a.m. this upcoming Friday. We have a long Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, so we'll work throughout the whole week, and we will reconvene back here at 9 a.m. Friday morning.